a dream come true for me. So, and she was so hard on me. She really taught me what it was like to be a pro, like what it took, So for me, and then Christmas, we had all gone home. And we were going home, and they were just like, "The league is over. You guys need to pack up all your stuff." So it was meant talk about mental health. Like it was really crazy, a really tough situation for me, graduating from college, realizing my dream, and then having it being taken away from me. And a lot of people actually dealt with a lot of issues. And I had a point guard on the team, Katrina Price, who had
Price.
committed suicide right after
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people didn't handle it well, and but I had the support of my family, and then it was just on hoping I could continue to play.
Yeah. If you're just joining us on Jump Ball, I've got Chastity Melvin, who played many years in the WNBA and then also played in the ABL. And we've got Danielle Viglione, who played for the Sacramento Monarchs as well. So, D, when we look at what the WNBA is now and what it was when you played, when you were just a little baby-faced 22-year-old, what do you see as the biggest change that may have been maybe the biggest surprise that you've seen in the growth of the league over the last decade or two?
Oh goodness, throw it at me. Let's go.
Let's
Well,
go.
I would say the 3-pointer for sure. Like everybody's shooting it like crazy. Even the 4s and the 5s, everybody can shoot the ball. And one thing you ask, can she shoot the ball? And so I think that's one thing that's changed is range. And then another thing is just, I think there was distinct post players who always only stayed inside, and you got the guards who handle the ball. And now you have like Brianna Stewart's handling the ball and going inside. So you have everything. So everybody's kind of playing every position, positionless basketball versus kind of positions back when I played. I would say that's the biggest difference. A lot of pick and rolls, a lot more pick and rolls, a lot of stuff that I got introduced to this year is my first year coaching in the league and playing in the league. It's a lot different. I mean, it was a learning curve for me, but very growing for me, learning curve, just learning the athletes and just what makes people tick and how to get them better. And I feel like as a player, like I was totally different back then and some of the players today. So like what motivated me might not motivate someone else. So it's everybody's different. And different.
What's great about having the two of you on the show is the fact that you both coached in the league. So let's talk about one of the things that we always hear about players who played in the league, who were great at their sport, and then they become coaches. What is the big knock on players who play in the league and then they become coaches is that they're not very good coaches. But from what I've heard, you two were actually good coaches, right? So what do you think what do you think the big difference was in your approach from being a great player, extremely competitive, to translating the good parts of that to being a coach, Chaz?
I just think there's a knock on players, professional players overall, just because of the lack of experience. I think there's but we don't have opportunities to get experience.
Yep.
So they're like Daniel just talked about, there's just a learning curve. But I believe that we're competitive enough and our work ethic is great enough that we can, reduce that learning curve. Like it's still basketball at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, like there are just a lot of players, and we all play with them that we probably already kind of knew aren't going to be good coaches. But that's just like every day. Like, so you can't knock all athletes, but we get boxed in because, sometimes they hire those players that just character-wise and just overall as a person, they're probably not the best coach, the best type of leader. And that's no knock on them, but then all players get boxed in under that stereotype. But for me, I always just I had great coaches, and Coach K. Yao, my first coach, he was one of the pioneers of basketball. So just kind of the way I was taught and just my character, I've always been a team type of player. And I think Danielle will speak to this too. We've all been on different experiences. So I do think it's a little bit more easy if you've had different experiences as far as being a starter, being on the bench, getting cut. Like I've been through teams have folded. I've been through every experience you can imagine. So for me, I didn't come in with a big ego, and I just related more to the game. So I just think it just depends on the person. But unfortunately, we get boxed in when athletes get a role or get a position and then they fail And then it's just like, see, that's why we don't hire athletes.
Totally. Danielle, what about for you? What was this year with the Los Angeles Sparks? What was the biggest transition for you?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's how you classify good coaches. So how do you classify a good coach? What does that mean? What does success mean to you? You know, so coming in, everybody needs to do something different on a staff. So if you have the staff doing all the same stuff, then it's probably not a great staff. So everybody needs to be defensive minded, offensive minded, skill development minded. So you kind of have the whole package. And I think the overall picture for me, what I learned this year is that you care. Yeah. And everybody says that, but like, really, do you care about the success of everyone around you? Not just the success of the players, but the success of the coaching staff, the success of the management, the success of the staff, the whole organization. Because if you care about their success, then everybody's going to be successful together. And there's not going to be anybody pointing fingers. She's not good. She's not good at this. She's not good at that. We're going to take what we're great at, and we're going to take what our weakness is. And as athletes, you said it perfectly. We work hard. We're going to get it. Like, I think I spent like 20 hours on my first scout because I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to be good. And
that's the hardest part, right, D? That's the hardest part. That scout, you're just like, I gotta have this perfect. If they ask a question, you know, like this is why, Fran, this is why I have on specs. I had perfect vision until I started coaching, because that scout was the most irritating part of coaching. Like 8 hours straight, like watching every game, clipping, you know, that was for me, that was the tedious and the most challenging part as an assistant coach.
Yeah. What was the in terms of dealing with the players as fairly young professionals? I mean, I still consider you guys young professionals, and then coaching players during this time. What do you think the big difference was between coaching now and coaching when you and Danielle played in the WNBA?
Like Dee said, every one of them is extremely different. I mean, back in the day, you just, you know, we were all pretty much coached the exact same. You know, whether you, for the most part, whether you started, played a lot of minutes, like if you weren't getting the job done, you got yelled at, you got, you know, fussed out, cursed out by some coaches, you know, the whole realm. Now you gotta now you gotta figure out, okay, how so-and-so feeling today? Like, exactly how can I talk to them? Like, what, you know, but I think D pointed it out. Just show you care and be consistent with that.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, all players, we play, we know, and you, like, as a player, like, we already knew who was genuine and who really didn't care about us as a player. So at the end of the day, for me personally, I just try to be consistent in how I treated everyone every day, the staff and the players, and like Dee said, the management. I coached the way I wanted to be coached as a pro, for me personally. Okay. Because we've all been through some poor leaders and some great leaders as coaches. Yeah. So that's what I try to do. But it is, you got to get creative.
Yes.
You got to be creative.
Danielle, what was the hardest part for you?
The hardest part was going into it. I think at the beginning, I was just talking about this with the GM. The hardest part was coming into it. They cleaned house. And so we had all new coaches. We had pretty much all new players. I mean, I'm coming in, meeting everyone for the first time on the first day. So you're getting to know different people, different personalities. You don't know how they function. You don't know what they do well in, what kind of environment. And then you don't know necessarily what your head coach, what's he all about? What's the assistant coach is about? What are their strengths, weaknesses? And so you're trying to, like, in training camp, I'm like this. I'm like one of the players because I'd never been in his system. And so, like, he's got different different terminology and different words and different words for screen, different kinds of screens and this and that. And I'm like, wait, what did you say? Hot and cold? What is hot and cold? Like, you know, so I'm asking with the players, like, what is your terminology for this? And trying to learn really fast. I would say that would be the hardest thing, is just coming into the unknown. But at the same time, you grow more in that situation. And I grew as a person and a coach. So, and they supported me through it. So I think that was and, you know, Chastity, you said this earlier, but like, I think it's just with the players and with me as a new coach, it's being intentional and being intentional about, like, my progress, being intentional, you know, so like the other coaches have to help me. and I have to help them the best way I can in the moment. And I think being intentional with the players too. So like I was intentional to get to know every player. And so to get to know them as a person. Mm-hmm. And I think when you get to know them as a person, then and they can trust you, and trust is built, then it becomes much easier. But when you don't know anybody, it's hard to trust anybody. Like, well, okay, who are you? What are you about? And then, like once you start to trust people, I would say a month and a half into it, we really started to gel and just trust each other. We had a streak of like 6 wins, and we did really well together because we started to know each other. I mean, we went through like 19 starting lineups, like because of all different hardships. And that was hard because sometimes the day of the game, we didn't know who the starters were.
Right.
So to plan a game plan, and you don't know who's playing, that was difficult too. So I would say that get to know the people.
Definitely have to be adaptable. Definitely have to be adaptable.
I was literally about to, before we transitioned to talking about awards and that kind of stuff, I wanted to, because this is like the all faith believer Christian panel right here. So how did you infuse, leverage, embody your faith in a very difficult business? Doesn't matter whether it's pro business or college business or whatever, but I know you both are both Christians and believers. So how was that a part of your coaching persona?
Do you go first?
You go first. I just honestly, I followed the Spirit every single day. It was one situation where I had to like pray and grow closer to the Lord, because I feel like if I didn't do that, I wouldn't know what to do. And I feel like in any other point in my life, he guided me more during these last 4 or 5 months than he ever has. If he told me to speak, I spoke. If I felt like I need from the Spirit to be quiet, I was quiet. And being quiet is the hardest thing for me because I like to talk. And so, like, and we talked about that, Fran, before. And just, I actually put it in my scouting reports, like the keys to win. Or like what makes you feel alive. And what makes me feel alive is at the end of the day that I knew that God says to me, like, well done, good and faithful servant. And it doesn't mean that you had 80 points or won the game or what. It just means that you gave your all that day and that you're the best version of you that day. And I just think that, and just trying to get them to realize what's their purpose. Why do we do what we do? And putting that in the scouting reports, and just, like I do game clips for them, and I'll put it in the game clips sometimes. It'll woven into text messages, or just, hey, you're a little off today. Like just being intentional about seeing why they're off, and then encouraging them in the Lord. And it's just conversations. And I think that was the biggest way. But biggest way for me is like prayer, and just being like, Lord, what do you want me to say right now? Give me times where it's just like, do something, like say something. I have something for you to say. Other times I had nothing to say. So I was like, what am I going to tell the post players today? I don't know. And then I have no idea. I don't have anything in the Spirit. Spirit, where are you? Like, where are you? It's the game, and I need to talk to him. And literally the chaplain comes up with a bag of books for them, and it's Fret. No fret, just faith. And I was like, that's our message.
That's it. What about you, Taz?
So like sometimes when we let go, he shows up.
Absolutely. What about you, Taz?
Yeah, I mean, everything I do is pretty much, I try to keep it Spirit led, but I think it's a challenge within the pros. Depending on what team you're on. Yeah. I don't know if, my last team wasn't extremely faith-based, but I was under Sandy, and I mean, Sandy doesn't talk about it a lot, but she's also a believer. So that was great to have that relationship with the coach. But at the end of the day, it's still the same in professional sports. I got made fun of a lot when I played. Like Chastity was a God believer and all. It's funny now because everyone's grown up now. Right. Now everyone's a believer, and I'm going down social media like, oh, okay, like you get it now. Like I got made fun of for like 15 plus years, but at the end of the day, you can't. I mean, and D, and this, you just can't hide your light. So it doesn't matter. Like, I think the character and just having a relationship, it's people can see it. People notice something different. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm just trying to be the best version of me. But at the end of the day, like she said, when times come up, I'm going to talk about it if I'm felt led to talk about it, or the moment comes up where I feel like one of the athletes or the coaches, even like when they're going through things, if they
Yeah.
need to hear something, like
Yeah.
then I don't have a problem sharing it. But it's a thin line. So even when I coach in the pros, it's a thin line to just try to balance that out.
Yeah, one of my greatest opportunities and challenges with my faith has always been about how people were treating people, and then how people were trying to treat me, and that people were watching me react to how people were treating me. Right. So
Right.
if the players that I was on a staff with or whatever knew that the head coach was being just a total jerk, insert your word, and they would almost always go and look at me like, how is Fran going to respond to this? How is she, with us knowing that this coach is being what? How is she going to? And so I was always like,
Yeah.
dang, I mean, I want to cuss these people out. Like I want
Right.
to do so many things, but having the players' eyes on me always was God's way of like saying, you know, like I was like, I don't blame you if you cuss them out. Like I'm good if you do it because they deserve it. But you got these 12 girls looking at you, and so I mean, what you gonna do, player? That's kind of how my relationship is with God. It's like, I want to cuss these people out. You do not understand. So they deserve it. You know they deserve it. But the opportunity and seeing those players grow into young women who say, man, I saw what was happening at place XYZ. And you just never let them get you. You never let them. That's my thing, was like, okay, good. Because let me tell you, I wanted to, I wanted to. And so whenever I come across believers who are in this business, knowing how challenging it is for a lot of different reasons, I know that people want to be encouraged by hearing that, because a lot of people want to be in this business, but don't know if, how faithful they can be when they get in this business, how much they're going to be able to let their light shine in this business, because it's often such a difficult business. All right. So glad we got to talk about that. Let's talk about the awards that came out over the last few days. Most valuable player. Any surprises? Breanna Stewart, most valuable player. Anybody shocked?
No.
I wasn't shocked. I knew most of the media would vote for Breanna Stewart. My MVP is Asia Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you had the number one team, so everybody's coming at you and they're trying to beat you.
Yeah.
Then you think, you've added someone. I'm Asia. I'm thinking Candace is coming over here. I'm going to get to rest. I'm going to get to take a few breaks. You know what I mean? And then Candace goes down, and then she just goes in domination mode.
Yeah.
I mean, New York, I give Breanna credit, but like, you really got like her whole starting five. She can just play offense one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not gonna really be able to like, teams are actually doubling, tripling Asia, and she's still moving through them. D already knows. I don't know. I would have gave that to Asia Wilson. Maybe it was because they didn't want to give back-to-back MVPs. But like I said, I think what she's done and having them in first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like hands down, I thought she should have got it, but that's not a bad pick with Breanna. Definitely It came down to those two for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought Asia should have been given the nod just for what Candace Parker going down.
Interesting. Danielle, what you think?
Well, I'm either way. I mean, I think Breanna Stewart was one of the best in the world, and Asia Wilson too. I think Breanna Stewart obviously is a little more of a guard. And maybe they thought about that when they're doing it. She can do everything. She can play points. She can play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. But, we always talk about how you defend them. And, I mean, it's tough to defend Breanna, because in the open court, in the half court, she would just come down and pull threes. And we're like, what the? It's just draining threes and draining shots. And, but Asia's tough. You can't. It's tough to guard her. Like, do you 2x2x2? Do you double her? It's a whole game plan against her. So either one. I'm with you.
Either one for you.
Either one.
Okay. Well, people threw Alyssa Thomas in the mix. AT. They threw her in the mix, and her diehard fans are saying, how is she not in the mix? How is she triple-double queen? Nobody can stop her. Why do you think Alyssa Thomas was not a real contender for MVP?
I believe one, because I mean, they'll probably come after me, but at the end of the day, you know, people are really tuning in to watch Brianna and Asia. First of all, like, you're going to tune in if it's late night. If you know Asia's playing, you know Brianna's playing. I think it's just with the whole Connecticut kind of brand, like, people aren't really just tuning in to watch the Sun play.
Yeah.
And just like Draymond Green and some other players, even back in the day, it was hard for Tamika Catchings to get MVP because they kind of have an ugly, nitty gritty type of game. And it's not pretty, it's not sexy, you know. So voters and even fans alike, it's hard to get MVP when your game is like that. So I remember with Tamika Catchings, like, she was a killer, but you know, she dive on the floor, she do different things, and she was, you know, playing great defense and kind of, you know, a bully at times. But at the end of the day, people want the MVP to have flashy offense, some kind of, you know, 100%. A different style, sexy brand. And so I think that's why she just doesn't get the attention of winning an MVP.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I don't know if it's a pregame show. I'm like, when we think of MVPs, we're trained and conditioned, right or wrong, to think of offense. So that's the first thing. It's like, you got to get buckets. You got to get buckets, and you got to be known for getting buckets. I can't think of one MVP in any league that was in any basketball league that wasn't a bucket getter. Can y'all think of anybody?
You're always talking about buckets. Fran's always talking about buckets. 3-pointers.
I mean, buckets. No, like, I mean, that's true. Like, and that's why I said, like, a lot of defensive players, even if they can score, aren't going to get the MVP.
That's right. They're not.
Also, Alyssa is sort of more so with just her back to the basket. So I think she's even though she can score and you know, put up numbers sometimes. I mean, like, I could have given an easier case to Connecticut Sun. I know there was a lot of talk about Alyssa, but DeWanna Bonner,
what? Bucket.
She's good too.
Bucket. Like, if I would have pushed anybody on the Connecticut Sun, I would have pushed for DeWanna Bonner to get MVP, because she just is a mismatch problem for everyone too. You know, even though it's position as basketball, a 4 and 5 can't really defend her. Then the guards are too small to defend her, and she just wreaks havoc on teams. And now she's extended her range, you know, 2 or 3 feet behind the 3-point line. I mean, she's a terror. She was tough. And she was tough in that first game today. But I mean, she was a problem for us when I coached with the Mercury. Like, we just didn't know how to defend DB. Well, I mean, I just told we did. It was hope she missed. Like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, we're gonna try to throw our biggest guard on her, and then, you know, we couldn't put BG. Like, you know, she's a mismatch issue, you know. So for at the end of the day, I would have pushed her a little bit more so than Alyssa. Not that I don't like or love what Alyssa does night in and night out, but like you said, DeWanna got hidden behind that, but she's a problem.
Definitely. Alyssa got Defensive Player of the Year, and I don't think anybody can refute that. Like, that is her.
See, you're not even going to go with a guard. We could have gave it to Brittany Sykes if they hadn't had it.
We could have. That's right.
Sykes. But DT, she's just, AT is just tough. AT is tough.
Gritty, like, grindy.
All right. Let me put this out here. They gonna kill me because they gonna be like, Chance is not on AT. I'm okay with that, Defensive Player of the Year, but I gotta rock it out for Mystics because they gave me a little gig this summer, you know. So.
Oh my God!
But shout out to the Mystics. But at the end of the day, like, AT, what has she done defensively against most of the front court players?
That is a great question. Okay, but what she does literally is causes friction and havoc, even if she's not the big recipient. So today, even I was watching, she just kind of stuck her hand in there, caused a turnover. She wreaks a lot of havoc. She gets on the floor. She's grimy. And I think it's hard for people to unsee that. That's what I believe.
Okay, so that's a close tie with her and Brittany Sykes.
It is.
Because that's a close tie, because if I look at it, you know, I'm gonna go back to my bigs, my real bigs, even though it's positionless basketball. Brianna Stewart and Asia Wilson. Yeah. Like, how many people really trying to go up against them in their position? Like, they should have, like, they aren't losing any sleep. And then when they play each other, if we look at the statistics, they cancel each other out.
Yeah.
Like Brianna has 9, and then Asia has 13.
Yep.
Like other people have to step up. So
Yep.
like I was telling either one of them, but I mean obviously that kind of goes into the MVP. But at the end of the day, like if you're selecting Alyssa for getting steals, getting on the floor, have we not seen Brittany Sykes play and her block shots? Like she's blocking Asia and Brianna Stewart.
True.
We gotta give her some love because I watched her night in and night out almost, and I watched Alyssa. But
hey, how about Jordan Canada
for defense?
She was just steals, but
she was number one steals.
Hey, you got to give your team a shout out. So I see that. You see how we
y'all. I couldn't with either of y'all.
I'm gonna switch the subject here.
Jordan and Brittany were going at it with the steals. They both had 82. I think
wow.
Sykes, I think Slim kind of maybe got one more than her. But at the end of the day, though, Sykes helped defender coming into DC the first year and doing what she's done defensively for them.
That was impressive.
Despite the injuries, like we gotta give a nod. She definitely gets honorable mention.
She definitely does. She definitely does. I think Jordan Canada is too low key. Like her numbers, she has the numbers, but I think because you know what we like to see with point guards and stuff, we like to see what Spoon used to do. We like point guard. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Sykes.
She can get in. She can get in there.
We need more of that, Jordan. We need more of that because you're right. She was a thief. She was.
Yeah, she is. She's like, and she's just smart. She just knows how to be in the right position and what we were trying to do defensively, and it's nice. It's nice to have a player like that and she's number one in steals because of our disruption type of defense. So
she was good.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Rookie of the year. Nobody's surprised by Aaliyah Boston. Is anybody surprised by that?
I wasn't surprised when she was drafted, and I wasn't surprised at all. You know, I'm all about my front court players, so yeah. I was really shocked. I made a tweet, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're just trying to get Gamecock fans to get on your get likes." And I'm like, this kid was like doubled and triple teamed. Yeah. She's gonna be 1-on-1 in the pros. What other rookies were coming in? She could score.
Yeah, she could.
1-on-1, that's a bucket.
Yep.
And it clearly showed. So
6th woman of the year. This might be some controversy. 6th woman of the year. They gave it to I think Alicia Clark.
Did they?
Yeah. That was my reaction. For the Aces, yes.
That's because they didn't give Asia MVP.
Like legit. I was
I'm just gonna be honest. They had to give Ace to something.
I was thinking Evans for Chicago. I was thinking I could think of 3 other people, but I was surprised by that choice.
Well, they couldn't give it to any of our players because we had 19 starting lineups. So
same thing. Same with the Mystics. Same with the Mystics.
I was gonna say Brittany, and I said no. She started starting at some point. Like literally, it was. I was baffled by that choice.
But I mean, because if you have with the Mystics, like what I've learned, you have to have a limited amount of starts to get the 6th player of the year. So that a lot of people actually could have probably been better candidates, but they had to start because of so many injuries.
Yep. They couldn't qualify. Okay, that's interesting. All right. Final on terms of awards and stuff. Coach of the year. Stephanie White got it.
That's good.
Is that who y'all thought would get it?
See, we can't talk about coaches because Danielle and I are just all trying to stay in the league and trying to look, Fran, you're setting us up right now. You know, people follow and watch every
I'm trying to say Kurt Miller is coach of the year.
Of course, Dean is gonna be like, Kurt should have got it. You know what I mean? Like, what? And I need to be, so at the end of the day, I can say all of them should have got coach of the year. No, but at the end of the day, no, I got to talk. I mean, the coaches know, obviously I like to do media and on the show. I mean, obviously I want to give an opinion. I think a lot of coaches, all the coaches in the WNBA, first of all, after coaching, and I know Dee can attest to this too, or coaching in the pros in general, it's a tough job, especially with the WNBA with a short season. injuries
Yep.
and everything is so quick. Like, it's a challenge for any coach. But I definitely want to give honorable mention to Tanisha Wright, because she got the Atlanta Dream back to the playoffs, and
Yep.
she kind of went under the radar. And I know people
Mhm.
kind of don't like their style of play. Sometimes it can be ugly or whatever. But at the end of the day, no one was expecting. She got them to the playoffs. They haven't been since 2018, I believe.
Yep.
So kudos to her. We talk about Cheryl Reeves, and I mean, obviously, you don't want to give her, like, you got to give her a ton of credit. But, she stayed in Minnesota. It wasn't like she went to a new organization. She's the GM. She's a pro at what she does. Like, she get coach of the year every year. She really could get coach of the year every year. I mean, to hit my mic, it might get a little crazy. Sandy, obviously going to New York. A lot of people talked about that. Sandy's work with egos. Like, people were saying, well, Sandy get them gel together, and there's a lot of egos, but she had that in Phoenix. So she was a great candidate to go to New York and do that. So I wasn't personally surprised, because she had some big egos in Phoenix. So if anybody can do it in New York, Sandy, could do that. But I'm not saying that as a knock either.
No.
And then with Stephanie, I think it was a good choice with Stephanie, just because you come in and you still have some players from championship playoff caliber teams, potential championship players. But at the end of the day, they're used to Kurt's system, so you got to really get a buy-in, get trust. So I can see why they kind of went with Stephanie with that award. But yeah, it could have been anyone. It could have been
Dallas. It could have been Latricia.
I didn't even get to Latricia. Like, I talked to her at All-Star, and she was like almost scared of the All-Star break, because she had finally got them to kind of, hey, we can play as a team. It can go either way after All-Star break. So when I talked with her, she was just like, Chaz, I just hope they come back like still buying in. So, and that's another one. That's another one. But I think they were, I mean, either way, between her and Stephanie, you could have gone either way. I think with Connecticut finishing higher, they just went with that. But
there's a sentiment in the marketplace about Dallas. I mean, people can't separate the job that Trammell is doing with their love-hate relationship with Arike Ogunbowale. Like, they can't separate it. They're like, she's this, she's that. I'm like, that has nothing to do with the fact that their team still finished fourth, came together, they're like, I don't like Arike. And I'm like, okay. But the coach has done a good job. The coach has done a good job, because that could have been a total show, a blank show. Y'all know. Danielle, what are your thoughts?
I honestly, after going through this season, think that every single coach that coaches the game in the W should get Coach of the Year.
Oh my goodness!
Dale's gonna definitely have a job. I'm gonna have to still sit out 2 or 3 more years.
I come from a skill development standpoint and background, and so I might be in the gym 8 hours with workouts, and that's nothing for me because I love it. But when you come and you prepare, and you're in a meeting for 2 hours, and then you're maybe doing some skill development, and then you do film, and then you do practice, and then we're going home and we're doing clips of practice, in training camp, we're just clipping practice, for video tomorrow. And it is a lot. As a player, you don't realize everything that goes into it. And back in the day, they didn't have all this technology.
Nope.
And so that was another thing, learning the technology of today. And these head coaches have a lot on their slate, as far as decision making, as far as, picking players, draft.
But I wonder, is all this stuff, all these good things that we've been blessed with, all these statistics, all these analytics, all that, legit at Houston won 4 championships. I was on the first championship team. We had practice and sometimes film, a little bit.
With VHS tape? No.
Fran, I like Dee said, there's a lot more that goes into it, and that's why I started it out every coach can deserve it after coaching the league, because it's just a lot.
It's a lot,
especially since our league is just jam packed into.
We're doing too much.
40 games. I wish we had a real regular season.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, that's another story. I'm like you, Fran. I think I think you got to find balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the good coaches, the great coaches that find a balance between having all the technology and having all the things that quantify what you should do on the court, as opposed to what you actually want to do day in and day out.
Yep.
I think there has to be a balance to it, especially in our league.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can't go with like I coached in the G League, and you know, I know how the pro season goes, but there's 82 games. It's a regular season, but we're playing 3 or 4 games a week. You know, you just got to find a balance. And I think a lot of the really good coaches find a great balance and what works for their team, and they got to do it really, really quickly.
Yeah. I heard an executive in the WNBA, NBA, and NBA franchise say that there are W players that want to be executives, like GMs and assistant GMs, but they don't realize that there is an actual skill set that goes with that, and therefore, you know, you just can't walk off the court and become a GM if you don't understand what goes into that job, or walk off the court and become a coach. I personally want more W players, former players, to get more opportunities, but I also understand what that executive was saying to me. What are your thoughts on what's needed, because you both are in organizations, you've been in successful organizations, on what is needed for W players to transition more smoothly into executive or even coaching roles in the W or the NBA?
I'm going to go with experience.
Okay.
But, you know, like experience, knowledge. I think that I definitely don't want to be a GM, and my future does not have that in it. I don't think, unless the Lord says tomorrow, hey, you need to go this route. But I think I think it's a personality too. I think it's specific to certain people, and certain people are great at it. Just like, you know, there's personalities as coaches, right? Like, you know, some coaches are more encouragement, other coaches are more X and O's. Like, it just depends on who you are as a person. But I don't know. I mean, what would you say, Chaz?
What would you say, Chaz?
Oh, I would love to be a GM. That's my ultimate goal.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to be a GM. I love coaching, but I'm very comfortable coaching. I'm very comfortable on the court. So I would feel like I would be uncomfortable off in those. I've never had that opportunity being in the front office. And I want to understand how those decisions are made, because like I said, I've worked in a lot of organizations, and there were some decisions I'm like, oh, who's making that decision? Because let me be their assistant, because I can help them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and by saying that, I feel like, first of all, we need more opportunities. And I just think every franchise, you know, I've been a fan of the NBA forever. I grew up watching that first with my dad and my brother, and just reading about Bill Russell and Pat Riley and all of their stories. They got opportunities to learn.
Yeah.
You know, like the franchise bought them back. And I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I retired. I was fortunate and blessed to play forever, but then it was like a gift and a curse, because I'm 39 years old and people are like not trying to help me out, not trying to give me an opportunity, college, pros, whatever, you know. And at the end of the day, it's not like we're saying, hey, give me a job, like I deserve it because I'm so-and-so. It's just like, okay, we gotta fast track this. And then,
pipeline.
You know, I have NBA guys who get opportunities to learn, whether it's even with the media. Like, I wanted to do the media, and they were like, well, you don't have on-camera experience. And then I go to a sports boot camp with Richard Jefferson and different other guys, and they finished the boot camp. They got a job.
Oh, NBC.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, nah, okay. You know, so at the end of the day, as athletes, and Dee knows that, but I think it's just those stereotypes for, like, even when the pros do get those jobs and they mess up, it's a trickle down effect on everyone that really has a passion, has like self-taught themselves, has knowledge, read a lot of books, really have a passion for the game, but they don't get certain opportunities. And for the WNBA, we're just limited right now. I would love for them to have more teams. I know there are a lot of other former players who are like, there are a lot of players who don't watch the league. Like, they're like, Chess loves the W. You know, D, they'll see me at All-Star, like, you keep up with everything. Like, like, there are some players who are like, but I've been doing that since like forever. You know, in college, I watched every Final Four. That's where I wanted to be. I watched the NCAA tournament. I wanted to be Robin, you know. But a lot of players don't follow the league. They're not into it. but the players that do want to be a part of it, there just aren't a lot of opportunities.
Not a lot of opportunities for sure.
Yeah. So I just, first of all, more opportunities and people just willing, like Morgan Tucker. I'm glad Connecticut made her assistant GM. Yep. Like if you can provide more of those spots, like you can have double assistants. Like it's we're not saying give us the head job.
Yep.
But make up roles like the NBA makes up roles. For
Thank you.
Yes. That's all I'm asking.
You know what's so funny is I was just gonna say that because I was saying create something where we can learn.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I will say that I will give kudos to Kurt Miller, because he actually, when he hired me, he said, I understand you don't have experience. Your whole career has been skill development.
Yeah.
But I'm all about helping and empowering somebody. And so, and you know, like that really meant a lot in the interview when I had with him. And I was like, oh, okay, well, like it's not about me going in and knowing everything. It's about someone else helping me along and empowering me to do that.
Yeah.
And so, and I think just and you know, the people at the top taking that leadership role, knowing that they got there because of someone else. And so passing it down to the people and helping other people get to where they are is huge.
It's huge.
And Fran, I think we have to make this point, and I feel like we can be authentic and vulnerable on this show and people can tune in, but I know we've all encountered, like, people think we're with the NBA guys, like, because I did a lot of stuff with the NBA guys post-retirement, you know, just investing in myself. But, like, they get a pension. And I think a lot of times when we're trying to get jobs, I've even been told, like, well, why would you want to work here? Or why would you know, you got plenty of money. Like, nah, the NBA guys have these huge pensions. Like we stopped working and that was it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, now, you know, that the WNBA has made it about how poor our salaries was. Like back in the day, it's just like, you didn't talk about it. Like people look at you like you have money and it's like, they're like, Chaz, why don't you have a Mercedes yet? And I'm looking like, no, I'm just trying to get a house. Right. You know what I mean? Like, but then we couldn't say anything back then, but now people really understand, like, oh, you really were making money back then. Like, oh, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Because it didn't go with the brand.
Yeah.
So on top of that, we're fighting kind of like two different evils. And obviously, you know, because of my faith and just my family support, but I think it did hurt a lot of players that, you know, it kind of killed their motivation and their drive for doing other things. And I definitely say it hasn't been easy and it's still not easy. It's very challenging. But, you know, for me, I've just been fortunate to have the resilience to be like, okay,
keep
you know, just keep going, you know, at the end of the day. But I just wanted to put that out there. I think there's just so many stereotypes with professional athletes and what our group has compared to what NBA guys have, or even NFL, Major League Baseball. Like our stuff is not set up like that.
Yeah, not at all. Somebody was interviewing me today, and we were talking about when the WNBA first started. I said, listen, I text Ariel Atkins maybe 6 months ago. We were talking. I text her my offer letter for my first season in the WNBA, and she said, wow, it was $15,000. I said, that's not even my speaking fee. That wasn't even my speaking fee then. I made more money as a speaker for one speech then. So if somebody paid me to speak, I was making $5,000 to $15,000 in 1997, and that was my entire WNBA salary.
Yeah,
right.
And Ariel was like, "Wow," and I was like, "Yes, this is what it was." And no pension, no retirement, no 401k. Like that. This was it. The 15 G's. That was it for the whole.
We did it because we loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm definitely not complaining. The platform gave me a lot of opportunities, but I just want people to put it in perspective.
Me too.
Of like, you know, getting experience, investing in yourself, trying to get opportunities. Like it's been a grind, but at the same time, I wouldn't change anything because my time overseas and playing in the W just afforded me something I never expected coming from a real town. So I'm grateful. I have a lot of gratitude, but at the same time, like, I'm happy these WNBA players will have different opportunities.
Different realities.
You know, and listen, I really want to send out a shot before we close and just put this clip, make it viral. Like, DT, since you're coming back for another year, you need to get with the union and try to get that pension, and make sure you get it for
Yeah, DT.
make sure you get it back. What is it like? Like the residuals, like
Yes.
reparations for the ones who came before you.
Listen.
No, like listen, like DT and Sue, like what, 16 years?
Yeah.
Just think about that if they had a pension.
Yeah.
You know, so I know the league is definitely not trying to hear that, but hey, DT, why you in it? You the big dog. You the face of the. You the face. Hey, 10,000 points. You playing another year before you retire. Go ahead and get that pension, girl.
This is your swan song, DT. This is your swan song right here. You can do something amazing like this.
Hey, get that pension, girl.
I love that. I love that, y'all. All right, final thing. Who's gonna win the WNBA championship this year? Are they gonna run it back, or is it gonna be a new champion? Who is it gonna be?
That is so tough.
I
got two answers. If it's a storybook ending, it's got to be New York.
Yeah.
Because just the pass from Teaspoon's shot.
Yeah.
And what was it? I think Sandy won the ship with Phoenix in her first year with them, or was it her second season?
I think it was the first 20. Was it 2014 or was it 2012? What was it? I don't remember.
I think it was her first. It was her first or second season.
Mm-hmm.
She won the chip with them. So this is her second season with New York.
Okay, that's a good story.
So I'll go with them with the fantasy storybook ending.
Okay.
But the Aces, those are some dogs right there. If they stay healthy and they have home court advantage. But they changed. But see, D, they changed it. So now it's 2-2-1.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if New York steals one, and then they got to go back that third game and play in New York, it gets tricky.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just go with it's going to be Aces or Liberty, but it's depending upon the it depends upon the home court advantage.
Home court advantage.
Who stays hot and who stays?
Yeah, who's the home? I mean, well, because if the Aces, if New York can steal a game, I'm gonna go with New York. But I mean, I can change it then because I don't feel like the Aces can win that third game in New York.
In New York, that's extremely difficult. That would be
extreme. I mean, that would be just extremely difficult because I think I do believe people.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
New York was beatable when they weren't shooting the ball, when the ball wasn't going in the basket. So for us, we stayed in the game because ball wasn't going in the basket. Mm-hmm. And because we had played well, we played our hearts out that game. But when they start shooting that dang ball, it's 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
Yep.
Brianna Stewart 3. I mean, everybody's shooting the 3. Sabrina.
Yep.
But they do.
But the Aces have the same. But that's what I'm saying. They counterbalance each other out.
They do too, because you got Plum, you got
and that's why I said it's just like that home court advantage. That home court advantage is tricky though, because okay, the Aces might go cold one game, and then they got to win that third game on the road. I just don't. So they got to be great those first two games, which is going to be challenging. But I don't know. The Mystics might have something to say to Liberty because they don't really want. I'm telling you, those girls don't want to see that backcourt from the Mystics, boy.
Yeah.
The same thing with LA though.
Yeah.
You guys gave them trouble. It's like a mismatch. It's just like the matchups right there. It just makes it tough.
We definitely got a W against the Aces this year.
Yeah, and the same thing with the Aces. Like the Mystics kind of played with them too. Like if they would have been healthy, if we had Shakira, you never know how it can go. But like the Mystics have a backcourt. You guys had a good backcourt that kind of poses a few problems because we all know now the Liberty's all offense. But they can shoot you out of it, but they better be making it because they ain't trying to play. They ain't trying to keep somebody in front of them.
No, not at all.
The X factor for the Liberty, if I will say this, if the Liberty are to win a championship, it's going to be JJ has to be the X factor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
JJ has to be the X factor if the Liberty are going to win.
She's got to play well.
She's got to play well. Huh?
Yeah. And they got to play some D. Like Liberty.
Well, JJ plays well. It's because she gets the rebounds. Like she needs to have that double-double, so she gives them second chance opportunities, and then that infuses their offense when they're off. And that's why I say it's going to land on her shoulders because they're not going to turn up the defense. They can't change that.
Right.
Yeah.
They're gonna win with their
Always present.
offense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and she's got to be there to give them second chance opportunities. So she's got to buy into that role consistently throughout the playoffs.
Okay, so y'all not picking nobody, basically. Y'all basically not
Yeah.
picking anybody. So basically, you're not picking
New York
anybody.
Liberty or the Aces.
Aces. Yep.
It would be crazy though if somebody like came in there and like spoiled it. I would be like, wow, we didn't see
Who's
that.
gonna do that? Who's gonna do that, Fran?
Connecticut.
No. They're not. Sorry.
Mystics, your wonderful Mystics can't do it.
Well,
Mystics full
fully
squad.
Fully loaded. The
well, see,
Mystics
they aren't going to be fully. They are going to be
Yeah.
fully loaded. First of all, and
Yeah.
New York is going to kill them the first game because they were mad that they beat them that last game. So they're going to blow them out the first game. And can the Mystics win that second game? I know one thing: the Liberty definitely don't want to come back to Southeast DC.
Yeah, no, they don't.
So they better win both of those games.
Yep, absolutely.
So they
All
need
right,
to come
y'all.
out. Yeah, punch
This
them in
is
the mouth.
great. This is great. Thank y'all for being on. Thanks everybody for watching. D, I'm not going to ask you on the air what you're doing with your life. You know, you coming back. I'm not going to ask you what you're doing. I know you also in the hunt for things. So it's going to be a surprise. We're going to have a surprise show with just finding out where Chaz and Danielle are going to end up next season. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
Sounds good to me.
Only God knows. It's going
God
to
knows.
mine.
I like it.
Definitely
Thanks,
mine would have
y'all.
gone a lot smoother.
Appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you got it.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Natural hydration. You may have seen her on Shark Tank coming for that ass. You may have seen her at the Women's Final Four Hydrate and Hustle, but all the ballers and best coaches drink Electra, and you can get yours right now at idrinkelectra.com. Pick it up, y'all. Thanks for being here. Run it back.